are in 2019, ladies and gentlemen. And with the Crimson Tide in championship mode, we have returned from the break on the hottest form of Alabama football talk with yours truly, Stephen Smith, live in studios. This is In My Own Words via Touchdown Alabama magazine. And the first segment kind of gave my thoughts from the Orange Bowl and some players I felt really stepped up and played an outstanding football game. But getting into some news, notes, and information here, Alabama linebacker Christian Miller sustained a pulled hamstring in the second half of the Crimson Tide's 45-34 victory over the Oklahoma Sooners at Hard Rock Stadium. And upon the initial look at the injury, did not look good. Christian Miller, in obvious pain, had to be helped off the field, did not return to action, was assisted to the locker room. His father, Corey Miller, joined him in the locker room. So people automatically assumed the worst case scenario, but after reports came out on how the injury wasn't as bad as originally thought, and Nick Saban confirming those reports of it being a minor pulled hamstring, good news there for Miller. However, the Alabama head football coach also said that the talented senior outside linebacker is listed as questionable, and that the team, coaching staff, and training staff are taking it day by day with Miller. He was limited during Tuesday's practice, was positioned or stayed at the back of the line, was also around defensive coordinator Tosh Lapoy. Nevertheless, he was still mentally engaged, making sure that players knew where they had to be, putting guys in the right spot. So he was still directing traffic despite the fact that he didn't do much in individual drills. And according to people I talked to, it just depends on if he's able to do more on Wednesday and Thursday. Because Friday, the team takes the plane to Santa Clara, California. If Miller is able to do more Wednesday and Thursday, that will go a long way into having him play next Monday night at Levi Stadium against the Clemson Tigers. If he's able to play, fantastic, because he's had a great season. We're talking about somebody that's got 8.5 sacks this year, 11.5 tackles for loss, 12 quarterback hurries. All of these rank among the tops for the team. And after sustaining the biceps injury last year, seeing him come back, put a healthy weight onto his frame, he's had a good year. So if he's able to play, great. If not, you look at the trio of Ayabi Anoma, Jamie Mosley, and even a LeBron Ray, but at 6'5", 294 pounds, can still get it done going from sideline to sideline and trying to shut down a perimeter rush attack that Clemson will bring to the table. But that's just some news and notes there on Christian Miller. In terms of the Clemson Tigers, this will be the fourth time that Alabama and Clemson will face each other, the third time for a national championship. The first two matchups, it went down to the wire. 2015, Alabama got it done 45-40 with the likes of Jacob Coker, Derrick Henry, O.J. Howard, and let's not forget my main man, Kenyon the Roadrunner Drake. In 2016, Deshaun Watson would not be denied in leading the Tigers to a 35-31 win over the Tide, despite a vaunted defense Alabama had, led by the likes of Jonathan Allen and Reuben Foster. So, third time around for a national championship. We're talking two big-armed quarterbacks, Tua Tagovailoa of Alabama, the Heisman Trophy finalist and consensus All-American, Trevor Lawrence of Clemson, the Maxwell Award finalist, the Atlantic Coast Conference Offensive Player of the Year, and at 6'6", 216 pounds, the young freshman who really came in and gave this team a shot in the arm after Kelly Bryant transferred out of the program. Clemson coming off a 30-3 win in the Cotton Bowl against Notre Dame. Looking at Trevor Lawrence here, out of Cartersville, Georgia, this is somebody that takes very good care of the football. 2,933 passing yards. He's got 27 touchdowns to 4 picks. And with him pulling the trigger here, Clemson, 5th in the country in scoring offense, putting up 45.4 points per game. They are 5th in the country in total offense, averaging 530 yards a game. But despite how good Lawrence is, and he is, Clemson's offense starts with its ability to successfully run the football, get to the edge, run it in between the tackles, and that starts with the home run guy and Travis Etienne, 190 carries, 1,572 yards rushing, 22 touchdowns. His yards 5th in the country, his touchdowns tied for 1st in the country. And then behind him, you got Adam Choice with 7 rushing touchdowns, Tavian Feaster with 6 scores, but it all starts with Etienne, 1,572 yards, 22 touchdowns. The Tigers bringing in the 9th best rushing offense in college football, averaging 259.8 yards a game. On the outside, as far as receivers go, Clemson, the same guys it had last year. T. Higgins, the big play threat, 56 catches, 855 yards, 11 scores. The ever so reliable Hunter Renfrow, who's still at Clemson after all this time. The senior, 47 catches, 534 yards, 1 touchdown. And then you got the spark plug in Justin Ross, the freshman, somebody of whom the Crimson Tide courted hard in the 2018 recruiting cycle. Ross, 40 catches, 847 yards, and 8 scores. So we know what the Tigers have offensively. They're going to look to run the football, get to the perimeter, because it's going to be very difficult to run the ball inside on Alabama's defense with the likes of Quinnen Williams, Raekwon Davis, and Isaiah Buggs. But for Clemson, I want to see how this defensive secondary shakes out against Alabama's passing game, Tua Tagovailoa and these receivers. Because Clemson's front 7, we know Cleveland Farrell, we know Christian Wilkins, we know Austin Bryant, we know Kendall Joseph, J.D. Davis, Trey Lamar. We know this front 7. Under Brent Venables, this front 7 is tried and true, and these guys are proven, even without Dexter Lawrence playing due to a suspension. I want to see this back 5, because Oklahoma's secondary could not defend the slant, could not stop a nosebleed, and the moment Lincoln Riley put that paper-thin defense on the field first, it was game, set, match, it was over. The fact that he did not trust his Heisman-winning quarterback to go out there and get the job done, he put the game in the hands of the paper-thin defense, and that defense got shredded from the word go. I don't care how many times Lincoln Riley will say, look, they outplayed us in the first half, we outplayed them in the second half. Oklahoma did not outplay Bama in the second half. Bama took its foot off the gas, and due to many mistakes and penalties, it allowed for Oklahoma to get back in the game. There was never a moment in the game where Alabama thought its lead was in doubt, its lead was in jeopardy. Lincoln Riley messed up by deferring the coin toss to the second half. That was the problem. And when you look at Clemson, can the secondary defend the slant routes, frustrate Alabama's receivers, reroute them off the line of scrimmage? That's the biggest question. Because the Tigers, 7 interceptions coming from the secondary this year, 10 picks overall for this defense. A.J. Terrell and Tanner Muse each have 2 picks apiece. But can they defend this Alabama receiving corps is the big-time question. If they can take away the slant, I'm pretty sure Coach Michael Locksley and Dan Enos will have some tricks up their sleeve to find where the weakness is. But that's the biggest point. Can Clemson secondary defend the likes of Tua Tagovailoa, who's playing way better than 80 to 85%? He looks like old Tua. Once again, operated at a full clip against Oklahoma, 24 for 27 passing, 316 yards with 4 touchdowns, and was the offensive player of the game for the Orange Bowl. But should be a good matchup. Alabama-Clemson, the trilogy for the national title. Trevor Lawrence is good. They got a good offense. Whichever defense can shut down the perimeter run game will go a long way in which team wins this particular matchup. Taking our final break here on In My Own Words. As always, you got to check out the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download it, Google Play Store for Team Android, iPhone App Store for Team Apple. We're hitting you in all things practice recap, game recap, recruiting, highlights, player interviews, TD Alabama Magazine. We are the plug, your source, your number one stop shop. You want all things Tide football, you check out the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. Do not allow yourself to be left out of knowing more about your team in 2019. But when we come back from the break, I get into why you cannot blame Patrick Surtain for his performance in the Orange Bowl and why that matchup will help him be even more dangerous in games to come from the national championship going into next year. Don't touch that dial, folks. It's in my own words. Tidying up some loose ends on our return.